You know what Pokemon needs? More cowbell. Nah, but seriously, Pokemon Sun and Moon are coming out, so it's a whole new world of Pokemon to look forward to. How many Pokemon are we getting now? Over 1,000 this time? These guys are like bunnies with hyper beams. I used to be a huge fan of the Pokemon games. I still like them, and mostly I just nuzlocke Gens 1 to 4 now, but I'll admit I've kind of fallen off the bandwagon. I would really like to get back on that bandwagon, but for me, Pokemon just doesn't feel fresh. Now, admittedly, I have not played Gens 5 or 6, so some of my facts and opinions may frankly be full of Tauros poop, so feel free to respectfully debate me in the comments. However, I do have some cursory knowledge of them and what they brought to the series, so I think I can speak with some perspective. It's not necessarily that Pokemon games don't change, because they do. 3D graphics, Wonder Trade, big stuff the series really needed. For me, it's more that Pokemon doesn't evolve in a Pokemon video, where it needs to. It's time Pokemon stepped up to the plate on some issues, so let's go down the list. What do Sun and Moon need to do to entice me, at least, back into the series? There's the evolve pun again. I'm awful. I heard the Gen 5 stories were actually a breath of fresh air for the series' stale plot formula, exploring deeper issues and building on characters like N and Ghetsis. Then I heard they reverted straight back to the evil team wants giant Pokemon plot in Gen 6. The story seems largely the same, to the point of feeling incredibly forced in each installment. A child gets a living death weapon from a professor, and for reasons unknown, each professor is so unusually generous that they feel like giving away rare Pokemon to random kids who ask. In addition to the simple, easy task of traveling the world's harsh geography and doing battle with bigger living death weapons to gather information for an encyclopedia. Furthermore, it's never explained why more capable adults haven't done this years ago. The Child of Destiny acquires one or more obligatory rival characters who exist just to lose to them, then decides to acquire all the badges because why the heck not? The Child of Destiny then crosses paths with a misguided team of ruffians that always looks too stupid to even remotely take seriously, and sets aside a little bit of time to combat them, but only because some fat guy studying footprints won't let them go to the next town if they don't trigger a forced story sequence. The Child of Destiny fights the head honcho attempting to use the legendary poster child for their own misguided gain, defeats or captures that poster child, and then gets back to the real plot. The evil team is promptly forgotten about, the Elite Four are beaten, introduce post-game content so players don't get bored. Now, Pokemon's been getting better in this regard. It has. The first games had basically no plot, now they have at least some plot. But tell me that summary doesn't sound eerily familiar, not to mention incredibly stale. Story points feel forced. You can't go to the next town, I'm studying footprints, / there's a power outage, / your face is stupid, / etc. The same moral messages are beaten into your mind. Be nice to Pokemon, unlike my grandson Blue who is stupid. And the plot is basically neglected in a corner while the player hunts for badges, only to drag it back out to get some sun every once in a while to keep things different. Do something fundamentally different. Why does a professor need to give me my first Pokemon? That's not part of the script. Why does a professor need to give me my first Pokemon? Why does there even need to be an evil team? It's time to start thinking outside the box. Make me care for the characters, tug on my heartstrings, ask me tough questions. Other family-friendly games like Super Paper Mario, never mind Mimi, Kid Icarus Uprising and Ni no Kuni are great examples for how to create deep, gripping stories without relying on mature content or gameplay gimmicks. Heck, for that matter, check out the Pokemon Adventures manga. Characters are treated like bona fide characters, not just vessels to prompt you to the next fight. And here's a thought. I'd like for Pokemon to put such an emphasis on story that the gyms and Elite Four are totally optional. What is it that drives each game forward so far? The gyms. The story itself plays second fiddle to an old game mechanic. That shouldn't be acceptable anymore. I want to be driven for personal reasons. My mother is sick and I'm looking for a cure. My dad went missing and I'm trying to find him. Evil is reigning supreme and my friends and I are looking for shelter. Do something different. Break the mold. End with the final boss, not the freaking Elite Four again. Make players go, huh, I wouldn't have thought of that before. Pokemon's been showing its age for a while now. It's time to bring the story up several notches.
For the love of all that is holy, stop with the event Pokemon!
Look, I get the point of them. They're meant to make certain players feel special, enlightened, that they acquired something few other people have. But what's the series tagline again? Gotta catch 'em all? Here's the bottom line. You can't. Not really. And not in a way that feels satisfying. Event Pokemon embody one of the most annoying practices I have ever experienced in video games. You know how everyone hates it when companies like Capcom jerk people around with their DLC crap and clearly lock the full game away behind paywalls? Event Pokemon are worse than that. At least with DLC, I can acquire the rest of the game by paying. Event Pokemon are silent middle finger to Pokedex hopefuls everywhere, because they render the whole point of the series, catching 'em all, moot, and you can't even pay to get them. Now, here's where I hear a couple of defenses, and I'd like to take a moment to quash them both. But getting Event Pokemon is easy if you hack the game with an action replay. I don't have an action replay. You want me to spend more money to complete the game by cheating? Why not just ask Game Freak to fix the problem at the source? Wouldn't that be more worthwhile? I filled the Pokedex by trading a lot. Yeah, so how much does that Lugia really mean to you? Or that Arceus or Darkrai or any legendary or event Pokemon your game does not actually have? They probably mean nothing, because you didn't work for them, neither did the person who traded it to you. They hacked that Pokemon into their game and traded it to you. How satisfying. Some people in the comments right now are probably mentioning that most event Pokemon aren't in the official Pokedex, and I say screw that, they're still Pokemon and I still want them. We can still have event Pokemon one way or another. I just don't want the whole point of the series to be sacrificed as a result. Perhaps you can catch Arceus in your game naturally, but how many people have a special, shiny Arceus encounter? Or a Pikachu that knows Surf? Or a Magikarp that knows Hyper Beam? You can still make event Pokemon that feel special without locking away the rest of the game. And then you actually have to distribute those events, guys. Remember the whole Azure Flute Fateful encounter in Gen 4? Neither do I, because Nintendo never bothered releasing it on the grounds that it was too difficult to understand. No, it isn't. I've seen the encounter happen. You go to a place and use an item. Any misunderstanding can be fixed by writing "Go to Spear Pillar" beneath the Azure Flute item. It isn't hard. You lack the will.
I know how to catch Pokemon. I knew how to catch Pokemon in every game. Can I skip it this time? Please?
I don't think I've seen a single person who remotely appreciates HMs the way they are. I'm in the middle of Platinum Nuzlocke right now, and never has the overbearance of HMs been more prevalent. There's nothing new or skill-based or strategic about them. It's less, how do I want to customize my mobile death team? And more, which Pokemon will hurt me less if I cripple them with an HM? They lessen the strategy of move choice, and they dramatically bog down the game to an irritatingly slow crawl at times. Want that item tucked behind that tree? Too bad. You wanted a decked out team customized to your preferences, so you'll have to go back and grab your cut slave. Oh, you're 3/4 of the way through Victory Road, but you forgot to grab your waterfall slave? Better slog back, pinch a valuable team player, and grab it. Give us a compromise. We're on Gen 7 here. We're on the 3DS. The time for compromise should have come, well, Gen 2 on the Game Boy, but now it's just silly. I understand that you want to prevent players from reaching certain points of the game too early, but that can just as easily be achieved by, careful story planning or giving them plot-related items. Forcing a move they don't want on them is agonizing. Some players have suggested separating the field use from the battle use of the HMs, so Pokemon can break rocks without near permanently taking up a move slot. That's a neat compromise, so perhaps start there. Either way, nobody likes HMs the way they are. At all. It's way past time to change them. And one honorable mention. Something Sun and Moon don't absolutely need to do, but something I think would benefit them regardless. This is something a lot of JRPGs in general should get on board with. Bravely Default did it to great effect. Most wild Pokemon aren't legitimate threats to your team. You can just bolt if things get hairy or if you don't want to fight them. Sometimes you just want to explore an area, Or your team is 50 levels higher than the wild Pokemon, and you simply do not want to stop every 5 seconds to run from a Pokemon battle. This can be easily fixed by giving players the option to turn wild encounters on and off. If they want to grind or find new Pokemon, they can. If they just want to experience the puzzles and story right now, they can. But you can just buy repels, some of you are saying. That's true. And Game Freak can also fix the problem altogether by taking the Bravely Default method. The former is dealing with the problem, the latter is fixing it. I don't want to tough it out anymore. I want it fixed. For more video game insight and opinion pieces, not to mention humor skits and voice acting advice, subscribe to this channel. Do you agree with the points mentioned in the video? Any points of your own? Feel free to share them. Until next time.